everyone, Meteorologist Carly Smith is here. Hello everyone, Meteorologist Carly Smith is here. Hey, the mic might not be working. Can somebody help? Can somebody? It might be because I did not put the mic on. Hello, everyone. I think it's working now. What's up? Meteorologist Carly Smith is here. Let me see if the volume is working on my phone. I'm still not hearing it on my phone, but maybe. It's working. Kimberly says it's working. Maybe it's my phone now. Kimberly, hello. Mic check. 3, 2, 1. Mic check. Anna, do we have confirmation that it's working outside of Kimberly? We hear you. Okay, a lot of people are saying they hear me. Thank you guys for bearing with me. A lot has been going on this morning. I'm going to actually clip the mic on. And I'm already wearing microphones, and it's all important information that we have to talk about. So I'm glad you're joining us and you didn't leave when I was worried that the mic wasn't working. I just had to put it on. So thank you. Everyone, I appreciate your comments saying we can hear you. It wouldn't be a live stream without some sort of technical difficulty, right? So we are starting with this image of the Art Museum. We're going to get into the details now, so serious time, everyone. The Art Museum is right on the coast, right? It's right on the bay. It's a gorgeous view. It's an amazing place to go eat there and take a look at the art as well with the great views also. But it's also low, and so the water has flown over that parking area that's on the barge dock, and it is starting to near or slap up against, it looks like, the wall there. So this is an example of the storm surge that we are seeing. Now, is this the worst we've ever, is this a horrible storm surge? No, but it's not great for the Art Museum, especially if the water does get inside. I know they've taken some precautions, especially since Hannah did the same thing, and then we had a similar situation through Harold. But overall, this is Corpus Christi Bay, right? So high tide time for Corpus Christi Bay, the forecast showing North Beach around 1 p.m. is the expected high tide, and it is expected to be around 3 feet. So that's 3 feet above normal, and the tide doesn't fluctuate above 1 foot very often there. Baffin Bay, last I checked, was up to 1 foot, but rising. Rockport is around 1 p.m. again for the high tide. Now, I've seen a lot of video of flooding in the Rockport area. And so feel free to send us your images, your photos. Let us know any updates on any flooded streets or roads that you come across. Preferably don't drive in this condition if you don't have to, but this is something we are keeping a close eye on. So thank you, David, for that update. Michelle says, I live on North Beach. What are the conditions like there? Kiesel is getting in the rain right now. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for watching. So once again, we're back at the high tide time. So Rances Pass has also been seeing some of the highest tide conditions with the latest reading about 4 feet. Port Aransas expected, or the highest tide was at 443, but all the beach cameras I've seen still show the tide coming up well past the dunes with those bigger waves out there as well. So here's one of the reasons we're seeing the storm surge. It's the wind that's tracking not only around that area of low, but we have this like long fetch of wind that actually extends farther south than that original arrow I drew, and then takes it right into Corpus Christi. And again, that is between the area of high pressure that's building to our north, creating the heat dome for everyone up there. That's what a lot of national news has been focusing on top of this potential tropical cyclone. And then additionally, our low in the Gulf, which is disorganized. It is starting to get a very wide center. So an interesting feature, I don't have this in edit mode, but we can pause it and then do some measurements. So an interesting thing about this is like the strongest wind is actually like has a diameter around that center of the low of 267 miles, which is interesting feature. But additionally, we have got this wind that's going all the way up for 1,000 miles. That's creating that's taking water essentially from even portions of the Caribbean. It's got to get around the Yucatan Peninsula though, but taking water all the way up across the Gulf of Mexico and then pushing that swell that develops because of the wind, pushing it into our coastal bend, beaches, bays, waterways, Laguna Madre, all of that is getting water from across the Gulf of Mexico essentially, and then that is why we are dealing with this 1 to 3 foot of storm surge. The Houston area also dealing with that up toward Galveston. 2 to 4 feet is the forecast there, but like I said, Aransas Pass, we're seeing 4 feet. That is kind of above normal tide, so I don't remember what the Aransas Pass like normal high tide is, because normal is not high or not low, it's like in between, right? And so this is 4 feet above normal, but a lot of flooding, coastal flooding, and that's why we do have the coastal flood advisory that is in place across the region. So that's through Friday. And additionally, we have a full moon that is coming up on Friday. And so I think we'll still see some coastal flooding into the weekend. However, it won't be as bad as what we're seeing right now because we won't have that surge coming up. But yeah, that's the latest look at some of the swell forecasts and the coastal flooding impact. Now let's get into the radar. So, hey Esmeralda, thanks for watching. We've got lots of rain here in Ingleside, rain all day. Yeah, raining out near Mathis. I love all the reports of rain because it makes me happy. I love getting rain in the coastal bend, of course, but we don't want it to come with damage. That's the goal. So one thing we're watching really closely, we've got this marine warning in place. That marine warning issued by the National Weather Service is for a storm that is impacting areas along Padre Island. So this is Packeray Channel all the way down toward, well, it says Port Aransas. Anyway, I'm just trying to read the update, but water spouts is the main hazard in this, and it's going to move inland. So if that water spout moves on land, it does officially become a tornado. Water spouts are on water and tornadoes are on land. And so this is something we're going to have to watch as it continues to move onshore. This little pocket is also producing some periods of really heavy rainfall. In fact, when we look at the rainfall rates, let me turn off the sweeping radar. Wow, the bright pinks you don't see too often unless there's the tropical moisture associated with it, and that's what we've got. So we'll query this, maybe. Okay, it might not pop up on your screen, but I'll query it. So this is a rainfall rate of around 1 to 2 inches easily. I know the National Weather Service said this could be producing 2 to 3 inches of rainfall per hour, especially as the storms train. So when we take a look at our 3 hours, so this is over the last 3 hours. I've got to get rid of the watches and warnings. So over the last 3 hours, this has produced 2 to 2.5 inches of rainfall over the open water. Now that is radar estimated rain. And as it's moving onshore, it's still producing decent amounts of rain, but it's separated a little bit. There's several little pieces or pockets of updrafts, which we will be watching the velocity for. So some areas I would be concerned with the potential for a waterspout just looking at this right now would be right here. Now, these tropical little spin-ups are hard to find and verify because they happen so quick, but you've got to look for where there's wind shear. And tropical spin-ups have different wind shear. It's more so a speed shear thing that then within one of the updrafts gets pulled up and creates that tornado that way. And so it's a little bit more of speed shear influencing the tornado than speed and directional shear. So when it's like a supercell tornado, you easily see these reds and these blues showing up. But right now it's kind of more like there's really fast wind here and there's smaller wind lighter wind here, there's really fast wind here, and there's lighter wind here, and that can also create one of those spin-ups, but that's also why tropical tornadoes are typically weaker than when you see them in a supercell type of setup. But with that being said, those are the two areas within that marine warning. Well, now I can't draw a circle. These two areas are where I would be watching very closely. I'm going to switch this. The banner at the top is still going to say velocity, but I'm going to switch it to reflectivity. Yeah, so something else you see is you see the little spin. So these might be actually, yeah, that would still be cyclonic, because it would still be clockwise motion, but it's moving left, which is just, it's like a backwards looking curve than we're used to, because typically our storms move from the east to the west, unless it's a tropical system, or from the west to the east. I said that backwards. This one is moving east to west, and so it looks a little backwards to me. But you see this little curve. What's essentially happening is there's some inflow going into the storm here, and then that's helping, or then fighting the weaker winds that are south of the storm. And anyway, regardless, you get the opportunity for some of these little tropical spin-ups, and that is going to be a possibility throughout the morning. Here's the breakdown. This seat, I don't know if anyone has watched it. It just lowered the entire time, so I'm gonna ditch it and just stand. But we'll get the tornado graphic up to explain kind of how those tropical tornadoes form. And so this is very similar to how the tropical funnels form, but in an environment with stronger wind and the additional kind of like rotation around the center of a tropical system, you get tornadoes easier than just necessarily a funnel. So it does happen in kind of the outer bands, which is what we will be dealing with, the outer bands of tropical systems, with the faster wind up high and the slower wind at the surface, and that creates that rotating tube of air. These tropical spin-ups, they do tend to be brief, isolated, and weak. They are found in the feeder outer bands of rain, and they're typically EF0 to EF1, which is about 65 to 110 miles per hour. So yeah, that's what we're monitoring on radar, and this storm is moving across Corpus Christi Bay, or it's going to track a little bit south of Corpus Christi Bay. So the chance for one of those little spin-ups is now approaching Padre Island, more so a little bit south from, actually, this is right at JP Luby. So this is JP Luby Beach right here. This is JP Luby, and this is Packery Channel right here. And this is where we have the potential for one of those, let me zoom back out. Yeah, for one of those little spin-ups. Which the marine warning does go right up to the coast. So that would be tracking right into Padre Island, where most of the businesses and people live, and then it would cross. Now, this is not confirmed, by the way. There's no confirmation that there is any type of tornado, but it's possible. And this is the area where one is going to be possible. And then this one is falling right behind it. So yeah, something to really be keeping an eye on. The good news is, again, like 100 mile per hour winds, kind of the max expected in this situation. But it's not something you want to see if it's headed toward your home, that's for sure. You still want to kind of take shelter. Actually, that spin up is a little bit weaker now. Let me do this. Let me do some drawing again. So we have this one. That's really the only, I mean, you could argue this is one, but let me turn the reflectivity back on. So yeah, actually, the one that's approaching Padre Island is not as obvious on the velocity imagery of having a chance to be a tropical tornado. But the one that's out here, which still would be tracking toward Padre Island as it keeps moving. See, oh, you kind of watch it weaken. So now that we have this set in motion, you can see it start kind of right there, and then it weakens. So right there, and then it weakens. So that's a good sign as it is approaching where people would be. This one is still kind of on the stronger side, so we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on the second storm moving in. Maybe it will weaken too. That would be great. We do not want any tornadoes, that is for sure. So yes, let's get rid of these alerts. Yeah, so these are some pretty heavy rainfall rates. This thing is just getting started, y'all. So we are going to have, now there are going to be some pockets where you get a break in the rainfall, but we've got some pretty steady, consistent, moderate to heavy rainfall passing through Corpus Christi now as we speak. South side, downtown, all of that area. Precip rate. So yeah, as these are coming, we've actually got Rockport, or no, Aransas Pass getting hit heavy with some of the higher rainfall. Let's see what this storm did over the last 3 hours. Okay, so it's just starting to pick up, that one there in Aransas Pass. It didn't dump a lot of rainfall over the Gulf, but it is now. So it kind of is just intensifying as it is passing over Rockport and Aransas Pass. So that's where some of the heaviest rainfall is going to be. So a couple of things to note. Of course, we do have the coastal flood warning. We already talked about that. We also have a flood warning that is in place. That's going to be 11:30 a.m. Friday. Now this one in particular is for the San Fernando Creek near Alice, and it is expected impacts. Okay, that's the impact. Let me see if it has the forecast. What minor flooding is in the forecast? That's Thursday to Friday. At 12 feet, minor lowland flooding occurs with flow 200 yards wide. Lower sections of the Country Club golf course are flooded. 8:15, it was only at 0.7 feet. So bank full stage is 4 feet. And the crest with all the rain we are expecting is supposed to be 12.2 feet. Flood stage is at 12 feet. So that is what we are watching through Alice. And so it's interesting that the National Weather Service put out these flood warnings before we even got the rain. That's how confident we are that we're going to get some high-end rainfall totals here across the area. A couple of other things that I'm watching. Anytime I see lightning, that's an indication of a stronger storm with a stronger updraft and a stronger potential of having one of those tropical spin-up tornadoes. So we'll be watching this in between Rockport and Seadrift as that area of lightning. This one is still pretty far offshore, but heavy rainfall, y'all. It's coming. It's here. It's off and on still. It's not quite as widespread as I was maybe hoping would be at this hour. I will admit to that. But we've got this whole swath of rain is going to come in, and let's time it out. So over the last hour, oh, I did next hour. We want the last hour. I'm trying to figure out where I want to measure this from, in case you're wondering. So from here to here is about 30 miles. From here to here, that's moving a little faster. This one moved fast and then weakened. I would say on average, there's going to be pockets of rain where it's heavier, that it's going to move faster than the slower rain. But I would say it looks like 40, 35, We'll measure it for 35 miles an hour. That's how fast the storms have been. Actually, the storms have been moving at about 20 knots, which is about 25 miles an hour. So this, I'd rather do an earlier time than a later time when I give you this estimated timing. But this is going to be, I'm going to say for when it gets, when the rain is going to come to an end. So this is for the end of the heavy, persistent rainfall, or the constant rainfall that we're about to come across. It's still going to be a little off and on, like I say constant, but it's going to be much more steady than we've been dealing with throughout the morning, especially the early morning if you were up watching First Edition. So this has stuff turning scattered again around 121 in Corpus Christi, Kingsville 155, Alice 229, Hebronville about 3 o'clock. So that's when I expect the back end of this to be. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that this, let's go to the water vapor imagery. It might take a second to load, so we'll wait on that. But I'm going to see where the moisture is in the atmosphere, because you don't always get a good indication based solely on radar and just clouds. So yeah, we still have a decent amount of moisture that is building on the south end. So this is actually going to be more so probably going to lead. What this is going to do is probably, it's going to wrap around, right? And it might not impact directly in Corpus Christi, but it's going to lean to those training storms or the feeder bands once that gets kind of organized. That is going to then impact us into tomorrow morning. So here's the latest look at Futurecast. We'll go there next. Actually, let me update this where it's at the current time. So Futurecast, similar timeline. So it's through Corpus Christi around 2. Then we have more scattered activity heading into this evening. Scattered to numerous is what we'll call it. About a 60% shot of coverage of the rainfall. Then you see into Thursday. This is those feeder bands kind of setting up. So that would be Thursday is we're going to watch for the flooding potential with any of these storms that dump a little bit more rain on top of what we see today is not going to be great. So for everyone that's asking when is this going to end or when's the rain going to get here or any of that, that Futurecast does a great job at showing that. Oh wait, this is the one I wanted. We'll look at this one too, because they might be different because I change mine all the time. But okay, so this is one particular weather model. So this is not our forecast. This is what we use to build our forecast. But it kind of shows how it's a little bit more scattered to numerous in spots, right? Which will lead to higher in rainfall totals for some and lower in rainfall totals for other. Now remember, we had us, or this morning at least, I had us in a range of 5 to 9 inches. So that's pretty much showing at least 5 to 8 inches but Rockport's getting a lot of rain right now, so I think Rockport's going to do better than 4.65. But that's what modeling is suggesting through Thursday evening for the coastal bend. I don't like to show the numbers typically. Now those yellow spots are actually closer to 10 inches, so the 10-inch forecast is still not out of the question at this point. But you can see we are going to have a little bit more breaks heading into this afternoon and evening. But the heaviest rainfall, which this forecast I haven't quite updated yet, but the heaviest rainfall is still expected pretty much between now and about 3 p.m. That's when we're going to see the widespread moderate to heavy rainfall that we're already seeing in portions of Corpus Christi and areas along the coast. Nothing in Alice yet, Sylvia, yet. That's the key word. Rain has been in Calallen since 6 a.m. Love to hear it. Thanks, Sandra, for the update. The wind finally coming now from Aaron. So let's talk wind next. That's the next key point. So we talked about rain, where it's at, what's coming. Look at all of this. These rainfall rates. So this is only rain over the last 3 hours. Let's change it to the last 24 hours. So this is over the last 24 hours. All of this, which is about 2 to 3 inches, is going to move in over the coastal bend on top of what we've already seen. So this 2 to 3 inches is moving in. So we're gonna get 2 to 3 inches, and then the rain again is staying scattered off and on, scattered to numerous. So that's 40 to 60% off and on, well into Thursday. So we're not done with the rain. Don't count your rainfall totals short. Things are just getting started, y'all. And so all of this is gonna move in. That swath of moisture, it's moving right into the coastal bend. And that's what we're just starting to see moving in now. And there's more of it on the way. So I'm pretty confident we're gonna wind up with 2, 3, 4 inches here before lunchtime is over. And then more is going to be on the way. Hey, Yolanda, you're welcome. 2.5 already. See, Aaron already has 2.5 on the south side, and that was just from one storm that went through. Maybe a couple have moved through, but there's a lot more on the way, and south side's gonna get hit with this one and this one, so we are watching those very closely. I'm gonna get off the Facebook chat and catch up with the Weather Service chat. Okay, so the latest thing they talked about was the band of showers offshore that's now moving in with rainfall rates, which Aaron said he got 2.5 inches, rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour. And we are going to be seeing, I mean, even this is like the tail end of that heavy rain moving in. And so that will be with us in Corpus Christi through at least the next 2 hours. Don't forget, we're gonna be live on Channel 3, on 3 News, also on Roku and any streaming that you have, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. We're gonna be live, whether it's on 3 or an app or KIITV.com. We'll be live with the latest news, damage reports, updates out of Rockport. That's all coming up at 11 a.m. this morning. So make sure you turn your TVs back on. If you've turned them off, we will be live with updates then. Let's look at the wind now. So we're transitioning to wind. We talked about all the rain. Something that I'm noticing, I've been looking at this image a lot because it's one of my favorite things just to show how we're getting storm surge and why we have a tropical storm warning at all, because we're not in landfall of this storm, but we are in a really tight pressure gradient between that high and the low, which is increasing the wind on the north side of that low pressure system. And that's going to still hit us. Now, again, we're missing a lot of buoy data, and some of those buoys may be underperforming. It says buoy wind speeds. Let me see what the gusts are. I'm still here, by the way. We haven't lost the volume. Tegna. Wind. That's at the end of the alphabet. Wind gust. Okay, so the gusts are 30, 35 miles per hour at some of the buoys. I'd be interesting. Buoy 4261 doesn't have a reading. That's why it says 000. I'd be interested to see what that says, but it's not working. So you can only use what you got. Here's our latest South Texas wind speeds. So here we're getting 32 mile per hour gusts, 35 mile per hour gusts right along the coast. Corpus Christi now picking up to 31 miles per hour, in Kingsville 28 miles per hour. All out of the northeast right now. So we're getting northeast wind. That's going to be initially, and then it's going to shift more east and then east-southeast again as we continue throughout the day. Those northeast winds are actually probably lowering some of our storm surge potential, except for the fact that the swells are generated before we get the wind coming at us. So that's additionally why a lot of that, the goal or the bay is pushing a lot of the water toward the art museum as well, because it's kind of like originally from the southeast and then we get that northeast wind, and so it's just kind of like pushing all the water anyway toward that corner where the art museum is. So let's check in on that, because the tide is supposed to only be getting higher there at North Beach through about 1 p.m. So yeah, you can tell it's harder. It's now starting to reach, they've got the sandbags there at the garage. You can see them, so that's good. Looking prepared at the art museum. But the water definitely is crashing up over the barge dock and into that concrete kind of loading dock area. You can see it rushing all across that region. I don't have access to turn the camera here, but it'd be interesting to see what the rest of North Beach is looking like right now. Here's the heavy rain, really strong rain. Maybe I can get Faith to turn that. Okay, but yeah, there's the heavy rainfall. It's coming down. Lots of puddles showing up, mostly on the roof there, but not fun, not impossible. Let's look at visibility to drive in. This is rain that we really need, and we are still expecting it to reach our watershed. I'll zoom out and look at that forecast here in a second, but you can see the lowest rainfall amounts where that, or the lowest visibility is where those heavy bands of rain are starting to move in. So Port Aransas, you can only see about 1.5 miles out in front of you, a mile through Flowery Bluff. So that's where the heavy rain is. The visibility doesn't lie, and so heavy rainfall is showing up. Now, one of the reasons for some of the higher in rainfall totals, don't forget, is we are still expecting feeder bands, especially on the back end of the system once it's made landfall, which is tonight. So Thursday, we're still expecting feeder bands to produce a flooding risk across the coastal bend. So just to recap, I think I have somewhere all the watches and warnings that we are under. Okay, we've got a new marine warning for waterspout possibility up near the Aransas Bay and Copano Bay region. We also now officially have a name. National Hurricane Center has named this tropical storm Alberto officially as of 9:48. So now we get to change all the graphics live right here. Congratulations, you're the first to find out. We have Tropical Storm Alberto. That is the impacts that we are dealing with. So thanks for joining this live so you can be one of the first to know. The graphics will be posted, I'm sure, ASAP on social media. I'm working on it for us here right now, but it's official, y'all. We've been not putting it off, but dodging those posts that are calling it Alberto before it wasn't. You do see, so I kept saying this all morning long, this wind field is probably what's helping. You see more of an organized rotation of the higher wind gusts around the system. So it's not necessarily symmetrical. That's okay. Storms don't have to be symmetrical, but we're getting the stronger wind gusts going all the way around that low. And that's what's that's what's allowing it now to be called a tropical storm. So post your questions on Facebook while we're in this while I'm working on the graphics, and I'll get to them. Again, don't forget, we're going to have updates on everything Alberto coming up at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. is when we're going to do that right on 3 News. So tune in, change the channel. If you turned it off, turn it back on. Hey, Arturo. Hey, Armando. Okay, but yeah, so this was a potential tropical cyclone. It was not an official storm because it had not gained that organization where there was convection all the way around the center of the storm, and there was not stronger winds all the way around the center of the storm. But now there officially is, so we officially have Tropical Storm Alberto. It's a complicated thing, but it makes sense if you understand it. It technically was just a tropical depression, but we called it potential tropical cyclone because it was going to make landfall possibly as a tropical storm. And that, excuse me, and that's where we're at now. So potential tropical cyclone, no more. It is now Alberto. And again, something just to point out, this is making landfall right at Tampico, Mexico. I didn't use that word or that city. I didn't call out that city a lot throughout the upcoming week, but I know Chief Meteorologist Alan Holt did. He was really zoned in on Tampico getting the center of the storm and landfall being around that area. And I was giving the same forecast. I just was saying south of Texas into Mexico, kind of central Mexico, or North Mexico, but in between, you know, the Bay of Campeche and Brownsville. And this is it. This is exactly where it's hitting, and we're getting some of the stronger impacts from the storm because of that swath of wind, again, between the high and the low that is set up. Show us the watershed. I'm on it, Reba, as soon as I make this post on social media. Alberto has already turned left and headed toward Mexico. So it is, I can pull up the satellite imagery, and that shows it's moving west now, so it's headed west at 9 miles per hour. This is a lot of moisture, so something else to keep in mind while you're looking at this and thinking we're not going to wind up with as much rain as we said we would. I can't find the drawing tool. Add an arrow. So all of this, right, is moisture that's going to head right for the coastal bend. So it is moisture is still developing as we speak with this. So oh, the other storm. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Alyssa. Yeah, so we'll talk about the other storm shortly. But right now, we're focusing on Alberto. Okay, hey everyone, I'm still here. I am working on updating all of our graphics. Additionally, I am about to end this live stream, so I want to point you toward KIIITV.com and additionally channel 3 at 11 a.m. We're gonna have live team coverage across the coastal bend, taking a look at where we're seeing some of the highest of rainfall, as some of the highest flooding, some of the greatest risk, any wind damage. North Beach is looking extra soggy as water is making its way up toward the what was known as Fajitaville in that area and up toward some of the hotels in that region. So North Beach is seeing a lot of water. The Art Museum seeing a lot of water. The island, especially along the coast, seeing a lot of water there as well. So yeah, and again, if you're just joining, it is officially Tropical Storm Alberto now. It's officially official. It got organized enough to be designated a tropical storm, but none of the impacts have changed. The impacts do not change for the coastal bend. We're still expecting 5 to 10 inches of rain, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, and 1 to 3 feet of storm surge along the coast. Where even? I'm having a hard time finding the story that I want to find on
The whole reason for that is to alert people
our website.
stuff going on in the news. If we had one of those up, we should be talking about whatever that was. So that's pretty much what we're doing.
Okay, so if you're just joining or if you haven't left yet, thanks again for watching this live update. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith. Tropical Storm Alberto has officially formed in the Gulf of Mexico. It has a name, that's all that it's changed. 40 mile per hour winds still there. Gust 50 miles per hour pressure is now at 995, and it is moving west. It's officially moving west at 9 miles per hour, so it is headed toward Mexico. Tampico, Mexico is where that cone is still forecasted to be. We've got our heavy plume of moisture that's moving in now as we speak across the coastal bend. So I want to check in on some of the rain that we've seen as far as the buoy readings go. If it says 000, that means that it's not getting a reading. If it says a number, that's a reading. Those are actually the gusts that we've got showing up right now. So that's a gust of 36 miles per hour. Right off the coast of Galveston, 27 miles per hour, closer to the coastal bend is where we're getting some of those buoy readings setting up. So yes, again, I am going to end this Facebook Live in 5 minutes. So at 10:05, I'm going to end. Make sure you watch 3 News, though, at 11 for special coverage of Tropical Storm Alberto. And we will see you then. I will try to answer any of the last minute questions over the next 5 minutes and get a latest look at radar and the flooding possibilities as well. Okay, so people are just trying to ask questions about the rain. Rain. Is the rain going to get heavier? Yes. What will the wind gusts be? 30 to 40 miles per hour. So here's the overview of everything. Here are the impacts. Flooding still up to 10 inches. Isolated areas could see more. Storm surge 1 and 3 feet. Inland flooding or inland wind 35 mile per hour gusts. Coastal wind 45 mile per hour gusts. Peak gusts 50 miles per hour. A few tornadoes will be possible. As we take a look at this radar, I do want to just remind folks, if you're just joining, we have been on for an hour, so we got a lot of the important flooding information out first, and then we were alerted that the National Hurricane Center has called this Tropical Storm Alberto officially with the 10 a.m. update. And additionally, we are watching one area up here toward Aransas, or this is closer to San Antonio Bay, but also up toward Aransas and Copano Bay. There are several marine warnings, and those are put out for the potential for water spouts. If that water spout moves on land, it is a tornado. Typically, they produce 100 mile per hour winds, but we are seeing that. Additionally, some very heavy rainfall. Some of the heaviest rain moving through Southside Corpus Christi right now. So this is the moderate to heavy rainfall we've been experiencing or expecting, and we're going to continue to see pockets of that continuing to funnel in. One of those areas where some of the heaviest rain is going to be setting up is right through here as this continues to push toward the west and then kind of southwest. So this is moving west and then a little bit southwest. But our wind is going to be out of the northeast, if that makes sense. We have all of this moisture still to come. So all of this will be moving on, which will keep us with some pretty steady rainfall in the region all the way through about 2 o'clock. Then it will continue to be scattered into the afternoon. And that's kind of the wrap up there. I hope that helps everyone understand. I'll show you the up close view. Oh, someone asked about the watershed. Let me get back to the radar. So this is the wide view, not a ton of rain in the watershed yet because that's all up to the north, right? All of that's well up to our north in this wide view. So we're not seeing a lot of rain in the watershed just yet, but as this moves, since this storm is now moving west, what we are going to see is all of this move west too, which in turn is going to put the rain in our watershed. So overall, those rainfall totals still really haven't changed too much. We are still expecting up to 9 inches, 5 to 9 inches. I did lower it a little bit. I'm not confident in the 10 or the isolated 15 that I have on our impacts graphic, but here's a look at what I am expecting. So it will taper off as in intensity from the northwest down to the coastline. But yeah, a watershed's gonna get some rain. Flooding is a concern. No flood alerts at this time, but we will come back on as needed for any potential tornado warnings that could be issued as these marine storms are moving onshore with some stronger energy associated with them. For now, I'm meteorologist Carly Smith, and I'm going to end this live update. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Please don't forget 11 a.m. That is when we will be back on 3 News. See you then.